Right, so hello everyone, it's the Cricket Connoisseur here and welcome to episode 7 of the TCC Talks podcast. Today I'm joined by someone who'll be very familiar to any Durham or Melbourne Renegades fans out there. It is none other than seamer Nathan Rimmington. So first things first, Nathan, it's an absolute privilege to have you on the podcast today. How's your day been going so far, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Just had a little bit of hit of tennis this morning with my daughters, following social distancing, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been a decent start to the day. Enjoying the good weather.
Yeah, exactly. It has been very nice past couple of days. I was in the cricket nets yesterday for the first time since September. Yeah, lovely weather in
Yeah,
England at the moment.
it's been good to have people out and about. So for
Yeah.
sure.
100%. So to kickstart this podcast, really, Nathan, I wanted to start right at the beginning of your cricketing journey. So what was the first ever memory of cricket that you have, either playing or watching the game?
So my introduction to cricket would be a lot different from most other professional cricketers. I actually grew up playing indoor cricket. So I think it's called like action indoor cricket in the UK,
Yes,
with
yeah.
like tension nets and stuff. So I think I was about 10 or 11 and just got invited along by a school friend to go play a bit of indoor cricket, and then just loved it from there. I'd always played like backyard cricket and mucked around with uncles and mates in sort of the backyard. But my first organised cricket was indoor, and then didn't really start playing sort of outdoors or proper cricket till I think I was 15. So
Wow.
and it was the same sort of thing. It was mates at school knew I played indoor cricket and sort of was taking that a little bit seriously at the time. And they said, yeah, come along. And yeah, I was just lucky enough to play a few games of that and got noticed really quickly and just sort of went from there.
That's a very late introduction to cricket. Like, majority of
Yeah,
cricketers obviously start very young, don't they?
yeah, it's a bit of a different story to most people. So
Well, yeah, it's contributed to your career though, definitely. So what made you choose to be a seamer in indoor cricket?
well, not by choice. I think everyone wants to bat, don't they? But I think it was probably just the skills I'd picked up in indoor cricket. Lots of slower balls and swinging the ball was a big thing in indoor cricket. And those sort of skills just translated well to outdoor at the time. I think batting's probably a little bit different in indoor cricket. You sort of you do pick up some good things like playing the ball late, but you sort of in indoor cricket you want to hit the net, so you're playing inside out. It took me a long time to actually develop the technique for outdoor cricket that would work. So because you're playing across the ball a lot in indoor cricket. So yeah, I struggled with that, and probably just the bowling just took off first, and then went from there.
Well,
So,
your sister also went on to play cricket, didn't she, Ricky Lee? What were the
yes,
battles like between you two?
pretty good. She spent a lot of time bowling to me, so as usual, like most brothers and sisters, and it's very competitive in the backyard. Used to sort of have to drag her out to bowl to me, but I'm sure she has fond memories of those times as well. It's good fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good with the sibling. 100%. That sibling rivalry always contributes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So in your early cricketing days, who would you say were your real inspirations? I mean, Australia had a fantastic seam attack back then. Who did you really look up to?
Probably Andy Bickle was the big one.
From Queensland, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he wasn't sort of like the tallest fast bowler, quite short and stocky and sort of more of a skidder of the ball, and that's someone that I was probably like likened to at that stage. Looked up to him a lot, and it was just awesome to be able to, when I first come into the Queensland setup, he was still around and he actually presented me my first Queensland cap. So he was a big one. Obviously there was Brett Lee, and everyone wanted to run in and bowl quick like him at the time. But Andy Bickle from a local point of view was probably the one that really stood out.
Well, yeah, talking of Andy Bickle and your Queensland cap, how did it actually feel to make your debut for Queensland? Because obviously you're a Queensland boy. How did it feel to put on the cap and represent your own state?
Yeah, it's awesome. It was like a dream come true at that stage. I probably had to wait a little bit longer than most people coming through, like, or even these days, most like younger guys are sort of rushed through a little bit more now. But at the time I was coming into Queensland, I was about 12th in line. You had like Mitchell Johnson, Andy Bickle, Michael Kasparich, Joe Dawes, Scott Mullo played a test for Australia. Then you had Steve McGoffin, Ben Edmondson, Matthew Petrie, all who played first class cricket and had to move away to Western Australia to actually to get a few matches. So I was well down the list. And despite taking sort of wickets in grade cricket, I just sort of had to bide my time. So when I actually did get my cap, it was after a lot of hard work, and yeah, it's something to be really proud of.
Yeah, as you said, really, really good pace attack back then. Queensland,
Yeah.
my goodness.
You still had Shane Watson and Andrew Simons, who could probably make it as outright bowlers themselves. So yeah, it was a tough time to be a seamer. You sort of had to do your graft, and yeah, certainly spent a lot of hours net bowling. So
Yeah, well, it paid off for you. In 2007, New Year's Day, you played Tasmania in one of the most incredible T20 matches, I think, in the 2000s. Didn't Michael Dye to get 6 for, and you got 5 for
yes.
27? How on earth do you look back on that game? What do you remember from it?
Well, sort of in the early days of the T20 comp in Australia. So I think it was second or third year. It was probably still a little bit of an unknown. And especially that particular match, it was at what you guys would call an outground. It was up in Toowoomba. So it was even more of an unknown going up there with the facilities. I knew it'd be a decent crowd. It was sort of like country area, so I knew you'd get a good crowd in. But yeah, just one of those early 2000s games where you just weren't sure how to play the game at that stage. You look, it's just come such a long way in the last 15 years. Then it was almost just go out there and just tee off from ball one, and just show as many skills as you can. Now there's a little bit more structure to it, and plans are in place. There was almost no plans at that stage. It was just go out, and I think it shows from those sorts of results. Anything can happen when you play cricket like that. So interesting times for sure.
100%. I mean, you're the first person to take a hat trick in Australian professional T20 cricket, which was quite incredible. Yeah.
It was. It's just one of those things. Like, I think, we were defending a pretty big score, and they just had to keep going for it. And it wasn't your sort of traditional hat trick. I think the hat trick ball was just like short and wide, and it was cut to like deep third man. So how would you ever think or dream that a hat trick was going to happen like that? So it was funny times.
Something you always got though, first man to take a hat trick in.
Exactly. I'll take it. So
yeah, exactly. But shortly after, well, it was a few months after, wasn't it? In the 07-08 season, you got injured. You had a pretty serious hip injury. How did you come back from that? Was it really tough for you, obviously having a prolonged period of time outside of the game?
Yeah, for sure. I sort of look at it as a turning point in my career. Up until that point, I said before that I sort of had to work hard to get it. But once I got there, I just thought everything was sort of just going to happen a little bit. But then when it was taken away, it makes you just realise, like, how much you do miss it. And it was just really bad timing, because I'd sort of, just started to do pretty well, especially in the short form. But I think, just missing that season just made me hungry for it not to happen again. Like, just made me like, do all the little bits of rehab that I probably was only doing, like, sort of like half cocked at the time. Just made sure I did everything 100% from that, and that's sort of how I've just taken that for the rest of my career now. And it's worked well, because I've managed to stay on the park now, which is one of the hardest battles for fast bowlers, I guess, is staying fit. So while it was really troubling at the time, I sort of look back and think it might have been just kick in the pants that I needed. And who knows, if that didn't happen, then things might have fallen away cricket at the back end of my career, because I might not have been doing those little things that I learned to do during that time. So yeah, it's good, positives and negatives, but it was a tough time, to be sure, for sure.
Well, that's a very interesting outlook on it. 100%. It's good that you learned from that. And yeah, as you said, started getting very good after that in terms of your death bowling. And in 2011, you achieved a lot of T20 cricketers' dreams. You got selected by Kings 11 Punjab in the Indian Premier League. How would you describe your time with Kings 11?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Awesome opportunity. Obviously, like, would have loved to have played more matches, but just to be a part of it was brilliant. Yeah, wouldn't have said it's like the multi-million-dollar deal that I got, that most kids would dream of. It was, not very financially rewarding. But I think even just going there, you would pay money to go and do what I did, because of the experience you gained and rubbing shoulders and just even just soaking up the atmosphere was absolutely brilliant. I was lucky enough that we had a lot of Australians in the setup at Kings 11 at that time. So it made me feel a little bit comfortable as well. So I was able to just go and enjoy it, which was, it was a really good time. I was meant to go back for a second year as well, but unfortunately just picked up a little bit of like an injury at the end of the season leading into it. But very fond memories of that time for sure.
Yeah, that's great to hear, definitely. Wonderful tournament, really is. It's great to see how the IPL has been growing as well.
Yeah.
So let's just skip forward a couple of years to 2014. This is quite an interesting area, I think. You moved to Hampshire. You played county cricket. When you first arrived in England, what did you think was the biggest difference between Australian state cricket and English county cricket?
Good question. I think the biggest thing is the schedule. I think like there's a lot of cricket jammed in England, and just the way like guys moved on from the last game, because you don't really have time to sit and like lick your wounds after a match here. You're almost like preparing for the next game straight away. Whereas in Australia, it's a little bit more spread out. Like you can debrief a loss, you can sort of take a week to work out what you did wrong, and go in the nets and work on that. Here, guys, because of the time pressures, you sort of have to move on really quick and then almost like get your skills practice on the morning of the next match. Whereas in Australia, you sort of, every match is just like leading up to like a grand final almost. It's like a bigger occasion. Whereas here, like, just the sheer amount of cricket. I'm not saying like guys don't take it as seriously. It's just different preparation. So that was the main thing.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
So,
which one would you prefer though? Which one do you prefer, state cricket or county?
They both have their advantages. I'd say like early on in my career, probably state cricket, just to have that time to work on your game.
Yep.
As I said, and work out what you are doing wrong. But now I quite enjoy just the competitive, like getting up for the competition. So later on in my career, like training probably doesn't get you as excited as much as it did when you're younger. So you just live for matches now. So if I can give a bit of a different answer, younger career state cricket, older career county cricket, which is sort of the path my career's followed anyway. So
well, yeah, that's absolutely fine. No problem with sitting on the fence. They're both very, very competitive leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. So
but yeah, at the same time that you're obviously with Hampshire making your county cricket debut, you're also playing in the Big Bash with the Renegades, and you'd made yourself one of their best death bowlers at the time. Who would you say was the toughest batsman that you faced in your time in the Big Bash?
Oh, good question.
There's been quite a few.
I'd say, well, the least success we had during that period for the Renegades was the Scorchers. They were our toughest opponents, and Sean Marsh and Michael Klinger were two that sort of stand out. They just scored runs for fun against us. So those two spring to mind straight away. Who else? Travis Head was someone that I found difficult to bowl to, hit to different parts of the ground. Just trying to think from the overseas guys. Brandon McCullum certainly come out. He was very hard to bowl to, very hard to get your length to. There's some guys off the top of my head that were not great fun to bowl to. So.
Yeah, all three of them very classy batsmen. I like Michael Klinger. I think he doesn't really get enough recognition in the international community. He's a wonderful T20 batsman. He really is.
Yeah, absolutely. He just the way he reads the game as well. I think he almost sort of could get into your head a bit. And obviously playing with him a little bit at WA at the time, so he knew my strengths. So he almost second guessing each other and sort of knew what I was going to do before I did it, which is very difficult to bowl to. So
yeah, it's almost like kryptonite.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you mentioned also with Travis Head, a batsman who has the ability to smash you all around the park. Really, what do you say is the most frustrating shot that a batsman can play against you? What's one that really gets you and annoys you?
Oh, the ramp shots for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because you can just literally bowl the perfect Yorker and it can disappear guys aren't even just hitting it for 4 now. They're hitting from 6. They seem to, get pace on them now, whereas they just used to be little paddles 10 years ago, but now they're actually just sort of flipping them. And now guys, you sort of put fine leg back and they're doing it the other way now. They're the most frustrating things. That's when you just need to, put the ego a little bit back in your pocket, because you can literally bowl the exact ball you want to bowl and it can disappear. So
yeah, that's a very important lesson for any bowler to learn, really, isn't it? You can bowl a perfect ball, batsman's got a perfect shot, nothing you can really do. Just move on to the next one.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's death bowling in a nutshell. You really have to have a short memory of your bad performances and good shots, and a really long memory of your good performances, if that makes sense. You can't afford to carry any baggage when you're a death bowler, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, you use your good experiences to kind of carry you through the tough bits, don't you? So in regards to your death bowling, Nathan, let's say, I don't know, you're defending 7 from the last over. What would be your go-to ball to a batsman at the death?
Yorker's number 1. Yeah, I think when you're nailing your Yorker, it makes everything else better. Yep. There's some days where you don't nail it and you go to your slower balls, but then it's so predictable. When you're nailing your Yorker, just everything else can feed off that. That's me anyway. Some guys, their slow ball bouncer is their best ball, and then they build their other balls around that. So they might use their Yorker as a surprise ball. But for me, it's my Yorker, and then I try and build up everything off that. And then, I'd say probably 10 years ago, it was a Yorker on leg stump. Now it's probably a Yorker on 5th or 6th stump, just because there is that little bit, if you do get it slightly wrong now, the margin for error is so much less. Used to be able to bowl a low full toss on leg stump and have it go for 1 or 2. Now it's going for 6. So 9 times out of 10. So I'd say, the line of the Yorkers have changed over my career as well. That's probably still my go-to ball, though.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, that's been something that's almost come to the forefront in the past 5 years or so, isn't it? That wide Yorker, because it's not a shot that you can really play, is it? If you can absolutely nail it.
Yeah.
But again, you do bring in the wides, so
I think there's 2 points to that. Like for me personally, being like a shorter bowler with the action that sort of falls away, I'm harder to get under. So I've got a bigger margin for error than most of the taller guys who, if they do miss their Yorker, guys can get under them. So that's still strength for me. But on the point of the wide Yorker, I think sometimes what fans and some players wouldn't realise that you actually take a couple of wides just to get it in there. If you think about, like, as I said, if you miss your straighter Yorker, it's going to disappear for 6. If you bowl a couple of wides in an over, but you get 3 of those wide Yorkers in that only go for 1, you've got 3 balls where you've beaten that one that went for 6. So as a bowler, you don't mind a couple of wides.
Yeah, fair enough. Actually, yeah. I suppose the maths works out.
Yeah, exactly. So.
100%. So, as you've been mentioning about your death bowling, what advice would you give to any young cricketers who potentially want to bowl at the death over 16 to 20? What advice would you give them as to how they can actually go about their death bowling?
Yeah, I spoke a little bit about before. Obviously, just you got to have no ego. It's got to be put in the back pocket. You're going to disappear at times, and you sort of just got to not move on from it, just try and learn from it. And just understand that it is going to happen. So that's probably the first thing on the mental side of things. But the other thing in developing your skills is just to, like, literally try as many different things as you can. Like, it took me, I think, about 2 years to develop a knuckleball. So it's just like a lot of trial and error as well. Like, some guys bowl their knuckleball with gripping their fingers into it. Some do it like right in. Just experimenting. I think that's the funnest part of death bowling, is like, everyone loves unpredictability aspect of being a death bowler. So why not just go and try and do some different stuff? And that's fun to sort of practice new things as well. It sort of takes you back to when you're a kid learning new skills. So that's what I would say. Just practice as many different things as you can and work out what works for you. But on the other side, have your banker. You spoke about like my best ball, and that's my Yorker. Nail that. And then you can use those other change ups that you've been working so hard to develop.
That's really nice advice. I think that's very good advice, Nathan, definitely. Also gives some individuality to your bowling as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And not everyone's going to be the same. So I'd also say, like, when you are bowling slow balls, a lot of coaches talk about, having it where you can see it, and then and they say, oh yeah, you've got to hide it. I actually go the other way and just say, make it a good ball. They've still got to play it, and then you can hide off the fact that they think they know what's coming. So, like a cat and mouse game. If they think you're going to do something, you can actually go the other way and do something different. So I don't mind seeing kids just, running up with the grip of a slow ball, because you can play with that as well. So I think it's going to be interesting where the game goes. I know some guys run in with the ball covered now to cover the grip. So all that stuff's going to be interesting as well.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, it's cat and mouse. Simple as that. It's that evolutionary, almost arms race between bat and ball that's still going on to this day.
Yeah, and I'm a massive baseball fan, and that sort of stuff really plays out in baseball a lot. So I think, 2020 cricket's definitely on that level.
Yeah, what makes you like baseball?
Just exactly that cat and mouse game. Yeah, the pitching side of it is fun to watch. The different grips and how they go about setting batsmen up. I don't know. It's just sort of a game that's sort of grown on me. It's very similar in the fact that takes a lot to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar to cricket, where you're going to fail like far more many times than you're going to succeed. So I think in baseball you consider a grade of the game when you can get a hit 3 out of 10. So 7 out of 10 times you're going to fail, and that's to be one of the best players. So it's just a good game, I reckon. Yeah, good fun to watch. And also the fact there's 160 odd games on out of 180 during the season. There's always a match on to watch, so that's a good thing to have as well.
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I quite like my baseball as well. I support the Arizona Diamondbacks personally. didn't do too great last season, but
No, well, I'm a Detroit Tigers fan, and we're way down the bottom of the pecking order at the moment. So,
geez, yeah, not been great for either of ours, really.
no.
But as you mentioned there with baseball, which is very similar to cricket, it's a great point. It's that perception of failure, isn't it, really? And how do you personally deal with that? 'Cause as you said, even in cricket, the majority of times the odds are stacked against you as a bowler. How do you deal with those tough moments and the pressure?
Um, I guess it's something that can't really be learnt. You just have to experience it. Yeah, as I said before, you sort of got to have a short memory, but learn from it at the same time. So it's hard to put into words, really. Um, I think at the end of the day, you can just you have your own process that you stick to, and your own plans, and you just try and nail that. And if the result goes your way, then happy days. And if it doesn't, you just got to understand that you were doing your best, really. Yeah, it's a hard one to put into words.
Well, yeah, it's a very interesting way of looking about it, definitely. Also shows that you've obviously got mental fortitude, 100%. So, yeah, not too bad
Yeah,
at all, Nathan.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to put into words.
Yeah, and it's as is everything in cricket, it's all individual as well. Individuals react differently, don't they? Especially to pressure and tough moments, 100%.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
almost to wrap this podcast up really now, Nathan, obviously coming not right at the end of your career now, but towards the twilight years, what have you got planned for a life after cricket? What are you thinking of going into?
So yeah, throughout my cricket career, I've always like done something outside of cricket, especially during that injury period that we spoke about before. I did a lot of study during that time. I ended up getting a health promotion degree, and I did get about 3/4 the way through a dietetics degree as well. So for a long time, I was thinking about heading into the health industry. But probably only the last probably 3 or 4 years where I have been drawn towards coaching a little bit, especially making the move over here. Um, I think, yeah, being involved in the game for as long as I have, you've got a lot to offer,
Yeah.
as well as from a selfish point of view. Like, um, it opens up a lot of opportunities just being a professional cricketer for a lot of your life. So, if you had to ask me sort of like 10 years ago whether I'd go into coaching, I probably would have said no. But I think, yeah, the longer I've stayed in the game, the more I've been drawn towards it. As to what aspect of coaching, I'm not too sure. I've really only just started dipping the toe in the water, really. I know some guys like come towards the end of their career and they look towards coaching. They think, yeah, I definitely want to like head into elite coaching, or I want to do academy level or women's cricket, or they have a distinct idea. From a personal point of view, I'm pretty open. Started doing a little bit, and that's a bit disappointing about this whole coronavirus thing. I was actually going to be doing a lot more coaching this summer, just to get that experience and see what I like. So if cricket did sort of come to an end on the field in the next couple of years, that I would at least have some experience of what I like, and try and forge a path in that direction.
Yeah, it's a good direction to take, definitely. I mean, you've got a lot to offer, especially in terms of your death bowling. I mean, that'd be brilliant, especially with some young English seamers. Let's get them ready for the Ashes, um, which are coming home in 2021. Just gonna put that out. Or 2022, is it? That's when it
Yeah,
that's when
well,
it finishes.
as a dual citizen, I can sort of sit on the fence. So either way, I'm a winner. So I'll just yeah.
Realistically, though, if you had to choose one, you're born in Queensland. I know you have got your connections with England. Which one do you prefer when they win the Ashes?
If it did come to someone was holding a gun to my head and said you have to make a decision, I would probably go Australia. But I was happy to see England do well now that I'm part of the English cricket setup. If I the way I take it is I'm involved in the English cricket setup now. So for English cricket to do well, from a selfish point of view, is going to benefit me as well. It's going to filter down. So, and if I am going to stay over here and coach and stay involved in the English setup, then it's good to see the English cricket team do well, because a rising tide lifts all boats. So, yeah, I think I'd like to see England do well just from that point of view. So,
well, that's very nice to hear, Nathan. Definitely. I mean, making the England and Australia fans listening to this very happy. Yeah. So, I mean, that pretty much wraps up the podcast for today. All that's left to say really is, Nathan, thank you very much for coming on. You've been an absolutely wonderful guest. And yeah, you're always welcome on again in the future. But yeah, that's pretty much it from us for today, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.